A spiritual practice is a healing journey that looks different for everyone, and you don't need anything fancy. We're Karlie and Karla, and this is Without a Candle, a raw, authentic chat bridging the gap between what it actually is and what media sells you. Let's normalize the journey together.
Hi.
Hi.
Round two.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I don't know what the hell is going on with technology, but
It seems to be a norm.
Yeah.
It seems to be a
This works out the way it needs to.
Exactly.
So after learning that, we didn't have the sound, we had a conversation and you had actually expressed some things that you were actually like, I was just frustrated.
Yeah,
I actually don't
exactly.
want to speak that into existence.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It definitely worked the way
It worked all the way it
So,
needed to.
Yeah. So Matt, please introduce yourself
Hi.
and share just how we know each other and and the shop and all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Matt Elliott, Maddie. A lot of my friends call me Maddie. I have a business called Crescent Moon Creative, which does florals and tarot. And I met Karlie and Karla through the Central Kentucky Mystic Markets. And they started inviting me to their amazing shop in Cynthiana,
Thank you.
Appalachian Root Work, and Rooted in Runes. And I have fallen in love with this space. And just a big shout out to Karlie and Karla.
We love having you here.
This place is a beacon of love and acceptance and spiritual progressiveness that this world needs, but specifically this area. And so thank you for creating a safe space for us here.
Something that Karla and I frequently talk about is how there was so much pushback, and there's still so much pushback. And we're fortunate enough to have those personalities that we're still going to show up and we're going to make our presence known.
Exactly.
If you're going to be uncomfortable with it, that's a you problem.
Exactly.
So thankfully our little town is starting to be a little more progressive and accepting, and especially more so just accepting that we're going to be in the spaces. We're going to take up the space, and there's no way around it.
Fill up a town.
Yeah.
I was blown away. I've been bragging on you all and Witches Day Out. Last year was my first year doing that, and I had not seen a whole town shut down for like a spiritual, mystical kind of experience. And so just a round of applause. I was so proud of Cynthiana. I was proud of and I know there was maybe some threat of a pushback, but it didn't even show. And it did. But I didn't know as a vendor. I was unaffected. This is how well you all handled it.
Thank you.
This is why I want to give you all props.
Thank you.
It's magical here. It really is.
Bigger and better things coming this year for sure. We've got some things that we're pulling from under our belt, and also kind of from the woodworks and all the things as little surprises. And we're working pretty closely with the radio this year, Cumulus Radio. So I'm really, really excited for all the things that they're helping with marketing. And then just seeing the people on social media talk about the festival and get excited, and we already have people that are coming in from out of state that are like, hey, what are the best Airbnbs, like where are we staying, all the things. So I am really excited for this festival this year, and we are pushing for a higher number of vendors. We're pushing for that 200 goal.
Wow.
Wow. So we'll see what happens, but we're excited to have you, and we're excited for you to be
excited to be back. So yes.
Good. So share a little bit about your tarot business and how you got into spirituality and all the things. What does that look like for you in day to day?
Well, that's a loaded question. So I will try to take it bit by bit. A little bit about my history. I feel very blessed and fortunate that my mother was a part of a spiritual organization in Lexington, Kentucky called Phoenix Institute, which was the woman Lee Schultz, not the woman, I love you, Lee. Lee Schultz channeled Samuel. And so from a very young age, at about the age 9 or so, I started attending Phoenix with my mother and seeing this channeler who was channeling for a large group
Yeah.
of people once a month, and it opened me up
Okay.
spiritually. I finally felt seen. I finally felt heard. The community was so loving and supportive,
Yeah.
and such a their whole motto was to live love. And
Yeah.
that is what they really, I got to watch humans at a young age try to practice that, and it's not easy.
No.
It sounds so simplistic and like, but when you boil it down to it, your question about day-to-day practice, that's what I try to aspire to, is my intention love-based, open-minded, kind, accepting, and sometimes love looks, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but assertive. Like sometimes you have to use, like setting a boundary is love. Saying no to someone because you're protecting yourself or your own energy, that is love. And so that's a spiritual practice for me. So I grew up around Phoenix and that greatly shaped. And for anyone listening that is interested, www.discoversamuel.com. They still meet via Zoom, and they have a free monthly Zoom meeting that anybody all over the world, they now have hundreds of people that tune in from around the world. And, when I was growing up, it was a smaller community of about like 30 to 50 that were more locally based. And they had pocket communities in Pittsburgh and in Atlanta as well. But like this Zoom, it all became because of COVID, like opened the channel up to people from all over the world now.
What a great way
So
to
I feel totally fortunate, like, and I understand that that has influenced who I am and how I am and how I do my tarot as well. And so my mother also was the one that first taught me how to read cards
Okay.
as well.
From my understanding, and if I'm remembering correctly, your tarot deck that you use is your original
Yes,
tarot deck.
it's my original one. It's got the little bend in it, and yeah, and like and I even like I've told Karlie, and I know I've read for you before, is that I say that I'm very loose with the tarot. Like I'm not, there are those wonderful readers out there that like they can give you all of the facts, the history. And for me, the tarot is a gateway or a marker. And like there will be one color or one symbol in the card that like sparks something within my consciousness to connect with that person's guides, ancestors, or spirit team. And so that's why I use the term loose with the tarot, because I'm not so strict by this card means this, this, and this.
Yeah.
It's more of a timeline for me.
So I believe that this year, well, actually last year going into this year, after conversations with Carla and myself, you have started owning more of the mediumship side of the practice.
Yeah.
And that
You all have been a gateway and allowing me to help with that.
express that.
Yes.
Glad that we give you
Yes.
the space to do that and just don't put you in the, oh, you're just a tarot reader box.
Yeah.
Like,
Because I think that's an important discussion that I think, even when I was starting to claim mediumship, which I do claim mediumship now, it's like, how do you do that? Like, what do you do? What makes you a medium all of a sudden? And, I have to say it is understanding what has always been there, but then also amplifying and fine-tuning it.
Yes. So Carla and I actually had conversations around mediumship yesterday based on her new involvements and my new involvements. And like me, I am a medium through the Akashic Records.
Yeah.
That is a tool, a modality that helps bring that trance.
Absolutely.
Same thing with Reiki for her, or when we're doing the clearings, and then same thing with you. You're just using a tool that helps you tap in to that higher vibration and that higher energy to be able to channel.
That's it.
And so once you get through the confidence and finally claiming that is a part of you, now you can go into that fine tuning and you can go into enhancing those gifts and and
Yes.
having that stronger connection to that higher frequency.
Yes.
So it always bothers me when people are like, oh, so now you're this, or
Right.
when did that happen?
It's an
It's like,
uncovering. It's an uncovering.
yes.
And a lot of times, if people are aware of like the craft as a journey, as something that you are upon, and so as you are on this journey of life or whatever, you uncover or re-remember or redefine what your skill set is. It isn't, I mean, there are those exceptions to the rule, but most people are not just claiming stuff to claim it. A lot of it is discovery.
Yes.
Or new language that is being understood.
And once people understand that spirituality is one in all of us, and
Yes.
two, we all harness gifts,
Yes.
right? We're all a master at some level with those same gifts.
Yes.
Right? So it's not, I am just doing it to do it. I'm doing it because I'm finally fulfilling my soul's purpose. I'm finally tapping into the old ancient gifts that my soul has always known. And same thing with you, same thing with Carla, Gary, everybody else in this room and outside in the community all has the gifts they can harness.
Yes. And it all looks different.
Yes.
And that's part of it. And that's one of my things, not to tangent, but just to briefly, I am very anti this is the way
Oh gosh.
to do things. Like that is one of humans' biggest pitfalls for all of the spirituality that we've experienced. And actually, if you look at nature and you look at everything, diversity is the key.
Yes.
Diversity is the key. And so while we will have Venn diagram moments of where there's a lot of overlap and we're all speaking the same language and we're all doing the same modalities, each one of us though needs to like look at our fine-tuned piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
What piece are you in this greater puzzle?
And that's why so many things amplify other
Yes.
things, right?
Yes.
So like, for example, because it's such a hot topic with us right now, is these clearings.
Yes.
The clearings help wash away and give you a clean slate foundation. But then you can also do the mediumship through tarot. You can also still do Reiki. You can also still do the Akashic records, because those are going to help build and amplify all of the wonderful things to come now that the negativities are gone.
Yes. Yes.
And not one thing is going to be right for everybody, and not one thing is going to be wrong for everybody.
And clearings are something that may need to happen more than once.
Yes.
I mean, like that's the thing that I think sometimes people from the outside looking in get worried about. And when people are like, well, I just had a clearing, like, why would I need this again? And, you know, one of the wisdoms that I've learned over the years is that you can't just release something if you don't replace it with something. And so if behavioral things haven't shifted, then that karmic cycle of energy is still going to keep coming back like a boomerang. And so like clearing is always the first, or step one in my opinion. But then you have to do step two, which is what am I going to fill in that space?
To continue the work. It's not just a one
and done.
Be all cured. No, you
absolutely.
And this is something that Carla learned through her own practice, and we've shared, so that's why I'm publicly sharing it. We've talked about it openly. Is you can't use the clearings to clean up a mess for you to do other things, and not like, oh, I'm gonna do this and not worry about it. I can get a clearing and it's taken care of. No, you still have to take care of yourself. You just have to maintain. It's no different than brushing your hair, brushing your teeth every day, and showering every day.
It's a practice. It's a practice.
Yes. So
the day to day.
Yes. So segueing that back into what you do day to day, how do you keep up with your energy hygiene, and how do you maintain that sovereignty in your home? Because you deal with the public frequently, and so you can potentially bring in some of that energy into your house. How do you prevent that?
Well, I think, you know, this is a great segue. A lot of it is I do things that are kind of second nature to me now. And so it's like what I would call my spiritual hygiene toolkit. I personally use, like before I'm leaving, especially if I'm reading, but I'm out in public, I'm using visualizations like a bubble of white light around me, gridded white light at the bottom of my feet, is something that I really have to do. We were saying before the recording started, I just came off of a festival. Just we don't go very often, but like when we do go, I'm around a lot of
Yes.
people. And, you know, as someone who is pretty sensitive to energy, I have to do a lot of conscious work. Like in the Lyft or the Uber to the festival, I am consciously surrounding myself with light. Breath work is huge for me.
Okay.
I think another thing that is important for people in general is learn to get to know your human body. Sometimes I think in our spiritual community we get so wrapped up in the ritual and the fun stuff
Yeah.
that is all up here and not out there. But we have to remember and honor the body that we have as a conduit. And the body is always trying to talk to us. And so for me, for instance, when I was a younger reader and did not have as much spiritual hygiene, I would start developing pain when I thought it was in my back. And then I had a healer who was a massage healer doing the somatic style of healing, told me, she was like, "Love, that's not your back. That's right behind your heart chakra." And that's when she asked me, she was like, "Are you closing your readings?" And I was like, "What do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean?" I had been trained to have an opening prayer to call in people's energies, but no one had talked to me about what you do afterwards. So she worked on that spot, and I was in pain for a long time, but a pain of release. And I had to do a major
Yeah.
clearing for myself. And after that, I started implementing closing prayers with every single reading, even if it's a short 20-minute reading or a 2-hour reading. I will always close it because that has helped me stay clear. I will say using things that are already a part of my life
Yeah.
as ritualistic, washing one's hands, taking a shower. The element of water for me personally is a great way of reminding myself to release things that are not mine. There's so many different modalities, and like I'm not trying to sound prescriptive about this, but I would like to share the different things. And so, but I always encourage people to do their own research to figure out, and this is why it goes back to what I was saying earlier, know your body,
Yeah.
because your body will tell you whether you're in alignment with something that is working for you or not. I would get really tight also in my chest area, like an anxiety response, if I hadn't bubbled myself or cleansed myself. And that's when I will use breath work
Yeah.
to consciously send
Release
stuff
it.
out of me. But again, when you release, you have to like button up and close so that you're
Yeah.
not just an open conduit again.
I really appreciate you mentioning using the mundane everyday things
Yes.
as energy hygiene, because
Yes.
a lot of people getting into spirituality or getting into energy work and things like that think that they need a crystal and they need a smudge all the time. And it's really as simple as just
It's
setting intention
yes.
as you cleanse.
Yes.
Because without a candle,
Yeah.
you are your greatest tool. You
You
don't
are.
need all the
The
things.
light
So
is within.
yeah.
The power is within all of us, and it is about the intention and the recognition of that that you can turn anything into magic.
Yeah, for
E-
sure.
Everything is magic if we're willing to look at it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sometimes it's easy to forget.
So we have briefly talked to you about becoming a instructor, teacher of sorts for tarot.
Hmm.
And we've kind of let that conversation be put off to the side because life in general
Yeah.
happens, right? So that's not something that you've considered before, but now you've been kind of,
Mhm.
here's an idea, it's kind of sparkling. What
Well,
are
and
your thoughts
as the
on
universe is, I keep getting people asking me.
asking?
And so it is to me, a sign that I'm being pushed along that path. I think, well, and I will speak vulnerably from my human perspective
Yeah.
as well, because this is, um, I've not taught this before. In a previous version of my life, I was a belly dancer and I had taught belly dance when I lived in New York City to people.
Yeah.
And like, so I know how to teach,
Yeah.
but I have not ever taught what I do or what my approach is to the cards.
Correct.
And so there's a bit of nervousness that comes around that
Yeah.
of having to actually take the time to try to break it down into a way to talk
Yeah.
to people and show people. I think some of my other resistance has been that I'm working through. And resistance, I want to be clear, is something that I'm working through. It's not stopping me,
Okay.
but it is something that I am consciously working through. Is that I think some of the version of teaching is not what I want to do.
Okay.
Like I don't want to be at a whiteboard with people with their notepads out.
Yeah.
Like I have learned through my own learning and through my own being a student that the more Socratic kind of method of discussion based and helping people uncover their own power and pathways. And so like I have to like rewire teacher into guide
Yes.
because I don't want to lay out a curriculum. I want to help guide people to the pathway.
Yeah. I love that approach so much because it's honoring that there's not one way.
Yes.
And so many people need that right now.
Yes.
With mainstream media telling you
this is the way
this is the
to do
way,
it, and
you're doing it wrong if you do it
Right.
this way, and you can't substitute anything. That is such a great approach. And that's on what we do here,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
that. So when you're ready,
Yeah.
when the time is called, you
Yes.
know when to
I
say
think
something.
one thing I would love to also focus on with that is, and we can use the cards, but I would almost like to approach it more of like helping people get in touch with their own guides and guidance system. That's like kind of dipping your toe into mediumship that
Yeah.
way. And mediumship isn't something that I believe is only certain people have that
Yeah,
gift.
no.
I believe we all have the ability to communicate to the other side.
Yeah.
And it's about finding the pathways. And so while I will probably use as example the tarot as a way for me to as an example, I would encourage like people that would study with me to bring their runes,
Okay.
to bring their whatever that works for them as a modality, because a pendulum, because it doesn't, to me, it's not about the tool that you use, it's the fact that you're using a tool.
To be
And what are you connecting to?
Yeah.
That's the question.
I love that. I think
Yeah.
that's needed for sure because so many people get fixated on the most popular things and the
Yes.
things that are known, and sometimes you don't even need a tool.
Sometimes you
it just
don't.
comes.
Sometimes you don't.
It's all about helping to teach people how to just listen and what their
Yeah.
listening is, because auditory
How it
isn't
shows.
auditory isn't for everybody.
It isn't.
Karlie hears stuff I don't. I'm starting to enhance the visualization a little bit more. Like that gift is slowly coming, but I mean, it's different for
Yeah.
everybody.
It is different
you
from
know?
everybody. And I think this is a great segue to talk about the senses
Yeah.
really quick, because this is one thing, because of some of my knowledge of tarot, you will see this in the Ace of Cups, and you also see it in the original Star card as well. There is these vessels that are spilling forth five streams. And the way that I was taught, and I know there's a million meanings and interpretations, but one thing that I talk about with clients is those five streams, simply put, represent our five senses.
Yeah.
And they mean that like we need to realize that we are already gifted with the tools to tune in.
Yeah.
And some people have a stronger sense of hearing, or versus some have a sense of smell or sense or sensation. And that's the thing that I would like to guide people on, is finding which of these senses is working for them and then amplifying it.
Yeah.
Because then it's about building this self-trust so that the doubt gets out of the way.
Yeah.
And that is huge. And I think the sensory work you start with the five ones that we know, and then that sixth sense comes forward.
Yeah. So what would a little piece of advice or nugget you would give somebody if they were asking you, well, where do I start with that?
Quiet. Trying to quiet down. That was hardest for me. Have heavy Gemini placement, as you can tell. I'm very verbal. But like it is learning to slow the mind down and being okay with stillness,
Okay.
I think is the starting point. It was for me. And you can build from there. The next step, I have to say, is learning to trust your first impulses or the first thoughts that come to you when you are in those places of quiet. A lot of our society has trained us to question, doubt, overanalyze, and by the time the human brain often gets a hold of that intuitive nugget, it rips it apart
Tries to rationalize.
and or misinterpret. And I will say, like, as a reader, the more I can relax myself and the more I can just say what comes through instead of trying to interpret what comes through, the more accurate it is every time.
For them, yeah.
Yeah.
I have quickly have been accepting that if it sounds crazy to me, it's probably not crazy to
Ding,
me.
ding, ding.
Yep.
Ding,
And,
ding,
and
ding.
and then after the fact, I'm like, my human self could have never come up
Known
with
that.
any of that.
No.
Like,
Right.
there's no way.
There's no
you know?
way.
So I've been encouraging people that in those moments of, random downloads of like, it doesn't make sense, just write it down and come back to it later.
Absolutely.
You don't need to sit there and write it down and try to overanalyze.
And I know I talked to Karla about or voice recording, like find your way to do a record of it. Like it doesn't note it somehow to come back later. Absolutely.
That's
Well, because also like one of the other big things that is tied in with I have found with divination as a whole is trust.
yeah.
You have to not only trust yourself, but trust that the information you are receiving is from a highest space,
Good.
from a higher space. And that trust, a lot of the science kind of people love to say trust is data over time. And so building off of what you're talking about, this is why recording is good for our human brain, because we now have record of proof that, see, this was right. When I thought this did come true. And you have to kind of coach yourself along like you would a child or like an animal that you're trying to train. Like our brain lovingly is animalistic in the fight or flight kind of thing. The beauty about what this experience is about is we are actually spirit in a human guise.
Yeah.
And so, but we have to learn to work with this.
The experience really.
Yes,
Yeah, for
exactly.
sure.
And trust is a huge part of that.
Yeah. So talking about trust and being in the human experience, and being exposed to the spiritual community at such a young age, how do you feel like that has shaped the way you go about community and the way you go about your practice with community?
It's a great question. I think that for me, that's a loaded question. I think for me, growing up the way I have has always made me want more of a spiritual community and find connectivity. And while I'm really excited now that we're at this point in history where, because of so many different overlaps, some of which I think is an energy change on the planet, but that's a sidebar. But I think that the spirituality is no longer a closeted thing.
Yeah.
It's not something to be ashamed of. I used to, when I was younger, like, and rightfully so, my mother would very caution me to it's not like that was we were ashamed or like we wanted to hide that we were seeing a channeler, but it was very taboo, and it still is in certain parts of the world. But like it could have had major problems. And so there was also this fear aspect about your spirituality and talking, using the candle. I think it might even be a Christian thing about keeping the candle under the basket.
Yeah.
Keeping your light hidden.
Yeah.
And like that was something that it didn't cause shame for me, but it definitely caused me to be very wary and cautious about letting people into my spiritual circle.
Yeah, for sure.
And so there's been a bit of trepidation, I would say, with me, even with the explosion of spiritual communities and things of that. I've also just seen, no matter the intention, no matter the love, humans be humans.
Yeah.
And I have such a really hedge witch rebel heart within me that like anytime I start feeling like I'm being controlled, I have an immediate response to it. And so I will own, unfortunately, that I have been more standoffish about spiritual community than I really should be. I would like to change that. I am working on that. I will again applaud you and Carla for this space here in Cynthiana. Is truly one of the first places that I have felt outside of Phoenix Institute that I have felt truly open, warmly accepted, able to speak my truth and not feel judged for it. And so because I'll even share, like, even during the being a part of Phoenix and stuff, I always, from a young age, it was kind of a running joke before I knew anything. For Christmas, I wanted witches. I was always like, even as a young kid, like in the movies and the cartoons, I was whatever the witches were doing. And that wasn't coming from my mother, even though my mother taught me tarot when I was a teenager. She was not putting that on me.
Yeah.
But she would watch me gravitate to that. And so when I was a teen, I started on more of the craft approach. And I got burned pretty quickly. There was a lot of, it just started feeling like the problems that I had with a lot of the modern Christian churches. And it's like, while I love Christ and the energy that Christ represents, it's the human part, that control part, and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it's caused me to be a little standoffish and hesitant, but you all again have given me hope that it can be done in a open-hearted way, in a place that is about sharing and not judging or controlling. I do believe in lines in the sand about, there are certain ethical things, like I don't want to be hurting or harming anyone. And if anyone's going to be bringing that around, I ain't on board.
Over the years, even the last year of you being here, I'm sure you've seen a lot of evolution in what we offer and what we don't offer, and things that we, and I think it was a conversation yesterday or some in the recent time frame, because time and space, there was a conversation of us not being non-denominational. We I think when we first started, especially when I first came on, we were talking a lot about, the practices that me and Carla do outside of here. And we would try to teach people, and we would make that a open space for everybody to have conversation with. But it was never something that we had pushed on. And then over time, just naturally it evolved to, we don't need to make those a class. We don't need to make that a workshop, because people know they can come in here and ask the questions and get the things that they need if they choose to, because they don't need them. But if they choose to get the things and do them at home, they can. And so it really has turned into almost a safe haven of just spirituality in general, to just raise the vibration and what you do in solidarity.
Fine tune it and help. One thing that I've respected about your all's business approach too is the connectivity that you all do to connect not only like other people, but community with community.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like that is essential.
Yeah.
It is essential.
You know, we have the aura photography.
Mhm.
Carla is brilliant with reading chakras and giving those reports and with her downloads and things. So it's beneficial for us to go out in the community and well, for her, she does it more so than any of us at all. But she goes out in the community and shares all of that with the other counties and because people only know what they know,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
it's a segue to open another pathway for people to be curious about
Yes.
themselves,
Yes.
And so I think that's really important that she does put herself out there and the shop on the map because people then know they have another safe haven somewhere,
People, I'm noticing more and more, and I think they always have been, but I think with the recent, and it really is recent invention of this social media ability to connect
Mm,
with other humans from different walks of life, like there is a hunger
yes.
for spiritual understanding
Mhm.
because there's so many parts of the world where the outlet for what spirituality looks like is very small and
Yeah.
tight
Yeah.
and very controlled.
Yeah.
And so I think that having places like this store as a beacon and a lighthouse to bring people to harbor, to bring people to a place where they can explore or ask and like, it's like I don't know this, but I bet this person does,
Yeah.
and I think that's also important for, and I just kind of want to say on a little tiny soapbox for any like other shop owners out there, is one thing that Carla and Karlie do so well is none of them pretend to be the authority of the knowledge or the gatekeepers. And like they are the guides, they are the connector, they are the community force. They help interweave things. They will provide the information. They will point you to the book. They will point you to the crystal. They'll give you the clearing. They'll give you the reading. But they're not going to be cautious no matter what it looks like if someone is trying to be too forceful in the way that they are the know-it-all. Because
Thank you.
it is important for us to recognize when we don't know it all and to have the other people to volley it to because it is one with one with one. Not one of us are going to have all the answers.
Oh, it's the oneness with all.
Yes.
And if in the spiritual practice, I appreciate so much the forever student
Yes.
because I can know how to read the
Absolutely.
runes and I can know how to teach the runes,
Absolutely.
but you know what? I don't know how to do it. I don't
Yes.
know every single interpretation because I'm not every
Absolutely.
single person. I'm going to be like, hey, you might resonate with me, or you might resonate with my rune mentor, Christina,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Or, you know, just apply that with anything, right? I'm not
Yes.
going to keep going down that rabbit hole, but
I absolutely agree with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that acknowledgement for sure because we do try our hardest to be like, you know what, there's other people that do
Do this
the same
as
thing
well.
that we do, and we don't have to do it all the
Yeah.
time. We only
Yeah.
have a capacity for so much. There's a wealth and there's wealth for everybody.
There is.
There's no reason for us to be a competitor or be
Correct.
threatened because another, how we host a festival and host vendors that
Mhm.
sell the same things we do. There's so much wealth out there for everybody. Like
Right.
if we were really um in that mindset,
You would have
we
been
would
blocking that.
right, we wouldn't be
But
hosting
instead,
that.
because you're bringing more to the table, you are starting to see the upliftment
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so beautiful to acknowledge,
Yeah.
and I'm thankful for leaders like you all in the community because it is a new form of leadership that it has been done in probably more ancient times, but not in times that I'm aware of within our current history of this is the way, and and anything that is blocking or competing with my way, I'm cutting out.
Yeah.
And instead of it's a one with one mindset, and that is That's going to be the way of the future for
I
spirituality.
think so too.
It
I think
has
that's
to
what's going to
be.
help waken a lot more people. And in
Yes.
other conversations that we've had, we've talked about how
Yes.
more and more are waking up.
Yes.
So with that,
Mhm.
as these new or old souls are waking up or new souls being created, what are some things that you would ask or give advice to for them to look for when they're looking for these other beacons and other safe havens?
Check when you arrive to these other places or other people that are offering like courses, like how much of how much are they trying to get to know you versus tell you about you? And there's a clear distinction between the two. A good leader and a good person is really going to be wanting to get to know more about you so that they can help guide you in the right ways versus tell you about you, which is then going to be more forceful. And so the way that it's a very slight nuance, but there is an energetic thing. And again, this is where I was talking earlier about being knowledgeable about your body. Your body is going to tense up and feel stressed in different ways, and stress manifests in different ways in all of our bodies. That's why it's important to know what it feels like and recognize it. If you are feeling stressed around someone's energy, it's probably not a vibrational match for you.
Yeah.
And I really want to get out of binary talking. I mean, and I'm not even saying that all of these other people are bad or wrong, but just because something is not a match for you, that's enough to say no. That's enough to move somewhere else. So I would say, like, is the beacon or is the place asking questions about you to get to know you on a genuine level? The other thing I would say is, this sounds silly, but it's true. Are they smiling and laughing? Is there a lightheartedness in the store, or do the store people feel stressed and burdened and crazy? And I'm not saying that, there are days
Yeah,
that
that we're all
we're human. And so I get that, but like I will say, like even on days that I have checked in with you and you have told me all of the stressful things that have gone on in your personal life that day, I did not feel that energy when I walked in the door. Like because I'm friends with you, could feel that you were down, but like that was not what was exuding in the
is
shop,
good. I'm glad.
you
Thank
know?
you. I'm glad to hear that because sometimes I feel like I can't feel that in here because everyone else is gonna feel it, and like, you know what I mean? So,
And this is where I want us to, as spiritual leaders, like get out of that. I think it is important for us to be human, and I think it is important for us to be honest about our human experiences and the days that we aren't
we're
being
okay.
our best. Because specifically in the spiritual community, there's a lot of this kind of perfectionism that gets kind of pushed in different angles. And the human experience is, well, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth. The human experience is perfect, but it translates as imperfection in
Yeah.
a lot of ways because it doesn't go as we planned.
Yeah.
It doesn't go as we imagined, as we expected.
Yes.
And so we're going to have days that we aren't functioning at our highest. And I think as leaders, it's important instead of trying to hide that or keep it away. I'm not saying you just like cry in front of all of your customers, but it is important to be like, hey, I'm having a really down day. So if I seem off, that's why.
Yes.
Taking ownership of that is important because it is a step for others to understand that, oh, it's okay to have a down day because people then are going to be watching, well, what did she do to get out of that?
Yeah. That is such, thank you for that because I feel like myself specifically, but
Mhm.
others as well, forget that we are still leading by example.
Yes.
Even if we don't feel like we're in a leadership role.
Yes.
Like people still
More people
look
are
at us.
watching
Yeah.
than you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And I say that to everyone. across the board.
Yeah.
There are more people paying attention to you than you realize. And I'm not saying that to get people paranoid, but I am saying that like I don't think we need to get out of this binary thought of perfection versus imperfection. It's about be authentic.
Yeah.
Be authentic,
Good.
be truthful in who you are, be on to you, be aware of what you're going through so that people can see what it looks like to get out of the muck, because and I will say, going back to your earlier question, that was one thing that another shout out to Phoenix Institute that when I was talking about watching humans live love, as a young person, I was watching all of these adults be human, but still strive for love. And it was so inspiring to see, like, and it wasn't inspiring because I saw them as perfect. It wasn't inspiring because I idealized them. I watched them stumble or say the wrong things in meetings or do something that was maybe considered inappropriate later. But what I watched was them all take accountability, apologize, and like that's a part of what being an example is we're going to mess up. We're going to do something wrong, but it's not about focusing on that. It's about what you do with it and where you go from there.
I love that so much because despite it,
Hmm.
despite the mistakes, despite the bad days, despite, you feeling like you aren't a beacon,
Yeah,
you
right.
are.
You are.
You are living a perfect life.
You are.
You are making your heaven, you are making your hell.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So that segues us into my final question that I have for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Is a spiritual practice, having one, living in this human experience, what does that mean to you? And how do you see that um, being a change for the collective? People that don't have a spiritual practice, but then obtaining
one, I see.
Yeah.
I I'll start vague and then I'll get a bit more
Yeah.
specific. Vaguely, it changes everything.
Yeah.
It changes everything because it's the reminder that we are spirit acting human, not humans trying to have a spiritual experience. When you start having a spirit-based practice, it synthesizes your human day-to-day life with the acknowledgement that you are more than this skin suit.
Yeah.
And that reminder is so important because it leads you back to your individualized power. And if you are interested in creating community and being in community, which is the way of the future, um, you have to be at peace with your individualized power. So a spiritual practice, I think sometimes people mistake that as like, I need to do this mantra and da 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 da. And like, I think that can be a practice for some people. But someone like me, who is not as disciplined in that kind of way, what my spiritual practice looks like is intention and awareness. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm checking in with myself. How am I feeling right now? Is there residual stuff from my dream state coming through? If my husband and I had a disagreement the day before, like, am I still carrying some of that weight with me, or did I process it? The awareness, and then the next step is the intention of like, what do I want to do today? And for me, when I feel personally overwhelmed and there's like a lot of things on my plate and I've accidentally triple booked myself, which happens more than I care to admit. But like when that happens, it's like trying to remind myself, it's like, okay, I can do this. What do I want to do? Where is my light going to lead me today?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's more of a internal and external dialogue slash monologue. I say dialogue because I often call that with my highest self, my higher self. And so that's what spiritual practice looks like to me. And like I consciously, well, and I'm a little spoiled, I will say, in the sense because I am reading for people pretty much every day of the week, that forces me to um, do meditation. It forces me to
It's that energy.
practice that stillness and stuff like that. And so I have a reason or a push to do that. And I will be honest that before my tarot side of my business was as busy as it is now, I wasn't as consistent with meditation as I am now. But because I am reading on such a regular basis now, it is imperative for me to have meditation. And one thing I like to also talk to a lot of people who are coming new to this is that like it's baby steps. A lot of people want to jump into the deep end first, and it's like it's the same thing that they talk about with like people who are trying to go to the gym or whatever. It's like if you like burn yourself out because you're working out so much that then you're sore and then you're just tired all the time, then you just let that habit go. You have to start doing micro changes. And so for you who may be just now waking up, maybe the micro change is asking yourself how you're feeling in the morning.
Yeah.
There's so many people who don't check in with themselves. And they view the world as coming at them instead of seeing their power within helping shift the things that are coming at them.
Yeah.
And so, if the world, to the second part of that question, can get more in line with the spirit-based consciousness, we have the ability, I believe, to change human history. And I want that to sound as big as it sounds. And I think that for much of the last few thousand years on this planet, humans have been told to be removed from spirit or needing to go through someone else to get to spirit. And spirit is us.
Yeah.
We are spirit. And so it is important once that, and this is what I mean, that awareness is to me the foundation of a spiritual practice. That recognition is for me the first step beyond all, is recognizing that you are more than just this human experience. And once you have that, and what can you imagine if thousands, millions of people started having that as awareness? It creates a cooperative experience versus a competitive experience because there is more than enough for us here.
Oh, so
And there's a way for us to also work with our planet in tandem instead of trying to exploit her and pull from her. That is all lack competitive mindset that comes from a lack of understanding that we are actually all connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once we can start remembering that, the world will change on all levels. But it's one with one with one, and it just takes one person. Something that Samuel has been known to say that I've carried with me in my individual practice and trying to remember is it only takes one bright, functioning light to change a room, to change a city. And like, so even if you're out listening to this in the middle of nowhere and there is no community for you right now, taking your spiritual autonomy back is the rock in the pond that sends out a ripple of vibrational change that you may not even be aware of. And so have faith in yourself, love yourself. And like RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. So we really have to like start with that.
We do.
Start with that.
Thank you so much for
Thank
all
you.
that wisdom, Matt. I appreciate our conversation so much.
I
And I
appreciate
appreciate your knowledge in the community because I feel like you're one of the few that have been openly exposed to it at such a young age and have been able to go about it almost your whole
My entire life. Yeah.
where the majority of the collective has had to kind of figured it out on their own.
At different stages,
different
yes.
stages of life. And so it's wonderful and it's a breath of fresh air to hear it from somebody that has been in it for
Yes.
for so long.
And it can be good.
Yeah.
And it can be good. And that's what I want really people to know is like there's a lot of chaos and frustration in the world right now for very understandable reasons, but I am holding on to hope.
Me too.
I am seeing more people think about other people and about the wildlife, about the animals, and thinking about the spirit realm in ways. Having a podcast like this, like even 10, 15 years ago, was very niche,
Yeah.
very small, very not, and now it's becoming more and more acceptable
Yeah.
and talked about, and that gives me hope alone.
Me too. People
So,
using their voice, for sure.
and watching people like you all create spaces and podcasts to do things like this is inspiring to me as well.
Thank you.
So,
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Well, until next time, because I'm sure we'll have you
Yeah.
on again.
Absolutely.
We'll catch y'all later. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to Without a Candle. If this episode landed with you in any way, drop us a like and leave a comment, and then visit the show notes for the connection links and more. And remember, you are your greatest tool. We'll catch you next time. See ya.